Hello, everyone. Happy Saturday. How are you? Welcome. If you haven't been here before, my name is Laura Mazzata. I am the Akashic Therapist, which means I've been a therapist for almost 20 years now and have integrated energetic and spiritual healing into my work for much greater levels of efficacy and efficiency. So, I am going to be talking about codependency today. This is something that I literally think that I can count on one hand the number of patients that I have had, the number of clients that I have had that have not had codependency. So, if this is something that you or someone you love has struggled with, definitely share this out. I'm sharing it out right now. And say hello if you're hopping on. Let me know where you're tuning in from. And I would love to welcome you. Thank you for joining me here on a Saturday. Very happy to be here. I've been intending on doing this live for a while, and I was happy that I had some opportunity today to do this. So say hi, share this out, give me some likes and hearts, and let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Sorry, there's a cajillion groups here for me to check out. All right, so how's everyone doing? What are you guys up to this Saturday? I've been chilling with my kids. I do plasma infusions every Friday afternoon, so I just kind of rest and relax on Saturday mornings and get myself to a space where I feel like I'm vibing, and I am vibing today. My energy is high. I'm feeling so good and loving my life. And I wanted to share some of that energy with you guys and talk about a topic that not only exists so readily in the, or so heavily, I should say, in the therapeutic world, but um, even in my personal life. I mean, so I just see codependency everywhere. So, what is codependency? Raise your hand, give me a one in the comments if you know what codependency is, if you have experienced this before. And I would also love to know what your definition of codependency is. Okay. So, codependency is when it's the same term when you say that somebody's enmeshed, right? Like, oh, I come from a family that's enmeshed. We don't have any boundaries with one another. It means that I am taking on somebody else. If I'm codependent, I am taking on somebody else's feelings and somebody else's experience as my own. So this can happen a lot with people who are empathic and people who identify as empaths, because we tend to, I am an empath, take on other people's stuff with an attempt to fix it or save them, right? And we get into savior mode. And when we get into savior mode, what happens is we end up denying our needs and we put these other person's needs above ours. And when that happens, we're giving ourselves the message that they're more significant than we are, that we are less deserving, okay? Because we're not checking into ourselves first. We're not taking care of ourselves first. We're so addicted to the relationship and obsessed with keeping the relationship and gripping onto it that we end up really stifling it, right? Restricting it, putting a lot of burden and pressure on the relationship, which actually heightens the likelihood of that relationship not continuing, okay? Because you're putting a lot of pressure on it by having such high expectations of, when there's no boundaries between the two of you, it's like, well, I feel this way about something, you need to too. You have these expectations that the other person is going to think that the same things are just as important as the things that you deem priority, right? And so you have this expectation too that when you're down or when you're upset or something's going on in your life, that this person in your life that you're feeling codependent with is responsible for being there for you at all times and with you and saving you and helping you. And in return, you do the same thing for them. So it feels like it works. It feels like it works because you're doing the same thing for them, whereas they then get into this codependent pattern as well. And they feel like, well, if I'm upset, I need Laura to be able to help me with it. No, you don't, right? And when we do that, we disempower other people and we disempower ourselves because we're giving other people power over how we feel. And we're allowing them to really dictate our boundaries rather than dictating them ourselves. I'm just opening this up on my phone just to make sure that features are working. So say hi if you're here so that I know the comments are on. Okay. So you can feel responsible for other people. You feel like you need to save them. And guess what that means? Each and every time, you know what that means when you're in savior mode? It means that you feel you need to be saved at some level. And it might not be something that's currently going on in your life. It could be something from previously in your life, okay, or even in past lives or generations back. But you feel like, I need to save this person. But why? It's all about you when you do that, because you're trying to save them to feel good about yourself, so that you feel like, oh, I was helpful and I did this and I saved this person and now I feel like a heroine or a hero, right? So it's really looking at, you're looking for approval. You're searching for your own approval and you're searching for their approval. It's almost like this constant testing situation where, like, all right, if I'm a hot mess, is this person going to show up and do it? And you're not doing any of this consciously. It's a very subconscious process. But if you allow these triggers when they come up, these codependent levels of awareness and relationships and situations to come up for you, you allow yourself to see this as a heightened sense of awareness. And then you can do something with it, because then you realize, oh, wow, no, I actually do have control of this situation. This is entirely about me and my need to feel saved right now. Where in my life do I need to be saved? What do I want to get out from underneath that I feel like I can't do on my own, or that I don't want to do on my own? Or identify that little tiny part of you inside, that old version of you that still feels kind of wounded, that you feel like needs some healing or some love. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys some steps today as to help you move forward, at least to begin. Okay, very good to have a structure around this, because you're very easily going to slip back into a codependent pattern if you don't have a structure or certain steps to follow. Because one of the key issues, like I said, with codependency is boundaries. We don't have boundaries with these other people that we have codependent relationships with, so we need to create them. Okay, and one way to do that is to create a structure for ourselves, to create an opportunity for us to hold ourselves accountable so that we can become more reliable foundations for ourselves. When we're seeking approval from other people and we're seeking approval of ourselves, we end up feeling like we don't have control over our own lives. Nobody likes that feeling. You feel like you're floundering, you feel like you're overwhelmed. Okay, so you don't really feel safe and secure. So it's definitely important to encourage, to establish a sense of safety, for sure. Hi, thank you so much for saying hello, Osina. You want to establish a sense of safety. You can do that. I actually talked about this in one of my videos the other day that I did on Awoken TV. I think it was yesterday. So, because I was talking about the fight or flight response. And I gave a lot of examples for ways that you can feel safe. And one of the best ways to do that is to incorporate all 5 senses into one activity at once, or in one moment in time at the same time. Okay? But we also feel safe with structure. We feel safe when we have structure and when we have something organized and concrete to follow, which is why with situations like this, whether we're talking about fight or flight or we're talking about codependency, I think it's really helpful to have steps, okay? Because you're starting to implement structure for yourself to make yourself feel more reliable, okay? The last thing I'm going to say before I give you these steps about codependency is, well, actually, there's 2 things. I'm just checking out my notes here on the side. So one is that you have these expectations of others that they're going to save you, or they're going to be there for you, or if you're in a bad mood but they're in a great mood, you expect them to kind of meet you where you are. If they don't, you get resentful. So that's another reason why it can squeeze the relationship to death. And then the relationship doesn't survive. And you think, oh, I put all this stuff into it. Well, guess what? If you're feeling nervous about this relationship, pour love into the relationship. Don't pour clinging into the relationship. Like, oh my gosh, where are you going? I can't survive without you. That's not a real vote of confidence for yourself. Of course you can. If you don't see that person for a day, are you still going to be alive the next evening? Yes, you are going to still be alive, right? So you need to be able to show that to yourself. You need to be able to, that's the area where you can prove to yourself, right? Challenge yourself to go outside of your comfort zone and say, no, I can set these boundaries and pour love into myself and pour attention to myself and do things that make me feel significant. That feels outside of my comfort zone, but it's a necessary step to help me get to a greater level of confidence and independence. Okay. Jealousy is a big one with codependency. Jealousy comes in all the time because you feel like anything that comes into your relationship that's outside of the 2 of you feels like a threat. because there's this safety and security thing going on. And it's like, well, if somebody else comes and pulls energy from this person, are they going to have enough for me? So it's a very self-focused, hey, Jennifer, thanks so much for being here and saying hi. It's a very self-focused symptom. And that doesn't mean you're selfish, and there's no need to blame yourself here or blame other people, because blame is never productive and it doesn't get us anywhere. It's just to heighten your awareness. Okay? Because whereas you think that you're being self-focused to take care of you, what you're really doing is choking yourself to death and removing your confidence, your freedom, and your empowerment. And who wants that? Right? So, oh, and the second thing that I wanted to say about this before I tell you guys the 4 steps is guilt. Right? And guilt is another thing that comes into play, because it's like, well, if I can't be there for my partner in this relationship, if I can't be there for them when they're upset, or I can't be there for them when they've, had something happen that they need to talk about, like on the turn of a dime, I can't be there for them, then I'm not good enough. I'm not being good enough for them. So it's like you only exist within the context of your relationship. You lose yourself. Right? So that's why we need to structure our interactions in a way that honors individual boundaries. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys how to do that. So let's talk about the 4 steps. And this is just a starting point, okay? This isn't going to solve everything in your life, but it's definitely a good place to start. And you need to start. And I'm hoping that even one person who watches this video is able to integrate some of this and start feeling like they're on their path, putting one foot in front of the other to stepping out of this. Because people who come to me with codependency just feel very disempowered. They feel very out of control. They feel very down on themselves. They're very self-critical, because they feel like, why can't I do this myself? Or why can't I figure this out? They don't feel good about it, and a lot of times people will be in codependent relationships and not feel good about it and feel really restless about it, but they don't know why. They don't know how to pinpoint why, because it feels so good when they're with this other person and they feel so fulfilled, but that's temporary. Okay. So the most important thing to do is, when you get triggered or you're in a situation or in a relationship where codependency comes up. Okay. And this can be in the form of, I'm feeling really defensive. I'm feeling like I want to cling on to them. I'm feeling really nervous and anxious. I'm feeling really jealous. I'm feeling really controlled or controlling, a heightened sense of responsibility to save somebody. Okay. When those things come up for you, it's an opportunity for you to, number 1, check in with yourself. Immediately do a scan, check in with yourself. How does your body feel? How do your emotions feel? How does your energy level feel? Okay, so check in with yourself first, because I promise you that every single time you have some kind of reaction or response to a codependent trigger like this, I just lost my train of thought. Isn't that lovely? Love it when that happens. So yeah, oh yeah, when you have a response like this, or you get triggered and you have this like the response of all the things that I listed, you want to heighten your sense of awareness about yourself, because it's about you. It's always about you. It's not about the other person. It's about an area where you're lacking, where you're not feeling significant, where your needs are not being met. Okay, so step up and meet your own needs. All right, we're going to get that further, and we're going to get to that in a minute or two with the rest of the steps. So number 1, check in with yourself first before you respond to the other person, before you respond or take action in this situation. Shut your mouth and check in with yourself. Okay? Turn it off and check in with yourself first. Do a nice little body scan, meditate, whatever it is you need to do. It can take 2 minutes. It can take 2 seconds if you're especially in tune with yourself. It doesn't have to take long. Okay? And when you're checking in with yourself, you're offering yourself an opportunity to spend time with you, right? When we get triggered by codependency, it is a cue to highlight that we need to spend more time with ourselves, attend more to ourselves, okay? So that's step 1. So do that, attend to yourself. Check in with yourself first, because then you're making it about you. You're making it about you being more significant than the other person, and you need to do that. because you can't help anybody else unless you are fulfilled, unless you are stabilized and solid and secure. Okay, so step 2, get curious. What is it that I really want or need in this situation? What is it about this trigger that, like, what's being highlighted here? What am I missing? Or what is it that I need? Or what is it that I want? And get really curious about that. And curious and creative about what activities or connections or thoughts or feelings that you can pursue to assist you with fulfilling that need. So it could be something really simple, like anything that makes you feel special. Like, it makes me feel really special to go to Starbucks and get a caramel macchiato. That makes me feel really special. So it can be the tiniest thing. It can be, oh, I'm going to paint my nails. Or, oh, I'm going to make myself my favorite dinner tonight. Okay, so it doesn't have to be this giant event. Okay, the point is that you're making a commitment to yourself and you're following through with an intention toward you. Okay? Number 3, show gratitude. You don't have to say this out loud, obviously, but internally, or preferably writing it on paper, gratitude for this situation occurring, for this trigger coming up in your life, for this relationship to be there. Because what it did was it offered you an opportunity and a chance to feel empowered and do it on your own, so that you can prove to yourself that not only are you going to survive distance from this person or boundaries set with this person or this situation, you're also going to flourish and you're going to learn something about yourself in the process and you're going to grow. Okay, so showing appreciation and feeling that appreciation for the person, situation, or trigger. Okay, and then number 4 is to take action, set the boundary. This is where you actually set the boundary. And honestly, at this point, it just comes naturally. Like, it just comes easily. You know, once you check in with yourself, you figure out, okay, what is it that this is triggering that I need to fulfill, or that, you know, an area that I need to feel significant, or I need to love myself more. Maybe what are some ways that I can do that? And if you guys need suggestions, ask that question in the comments, and other people can also chime in and help you come up with ways to help you feel more loving and more significant and more valued and more worthy. Then you're going to show gratitude, right? To really feel into this appreciation. And by the time you're feeling appreciative, you're already energetically starting to move on to taking the action and setting the boundary that you need to fulfill yourself first before the other person. So this 4th step, it's almost like it's non-existent because it's just going to naturally follow. When you're first starting to practice this, you may want to look at this as number 4. But what's so beautiful is as you continue to practice it, number 4 is just going to naturally come. You're just going to know. You're going to know what action to take. You're going to know what boundary to set, because you're going to be in a different vibe and you're going to be self-focused in a way that serves you. Okay, does that make sense? Put a 1 in the comments if this is making sense to you, and if this has really come up in your life at any time. All right, so the other thing that I just want to say here is, you know, you can really end up with a warped sense of self coming out of codependency and feeling like you don't even know who you are, right? And what's so beautiful about codependency work is that you're really offered the opportunity to command your own boundaries, command your own relationships and the terms of the relationship. You get to dictate the terms of every single one of your relationships, every single one of them. And I promise you they will be successful if they're coming from a place of compassion, self-love, and growth and expansion. Okay? You just have to feel worthy and deserving enough. Hi, Suzanne. Thanks for tuning in. Feel worthy and deserving enough to command this for yourself, which is why continuing to go through these 4 steps is going to assist you with feeling more worthy and more deserving. Okay? Many people in this situation in codependency don't feel worthy enough. They don't feel deserving. And sometimes in this situation, you just have to start to take action before you feel it. Don't wait until you're feeling really confident to act confidently or to set those boundaries. Just start doing. And also don't wait for the other person to take steps or the other person to back up or set boundaries. That is you taking a passive role in your life. And you don't want other people to dictate your life, right? You want to dictate your own terms. If you need help figuring out what those terms are, send me a message. But I promise you, I think it would be better for you to start this practice first, because it's going to give you information. And the more that you do in writing in this, the better, because you're increasing the vibration, you're changing the frequency. When you put it in writing, you're internalizing it more, you're writing it and carving it into your reality more. And then you're just going to give yourself data and information to move forward and offer yourself what it is that you need. Because the more that we write and allow things to flow, the closer we get to the root of what's going on. Okay? All right. So the only other thing I have to say is to really grasp this opportunity when the codependency comes up. Look at it with almost like a little sly grin, like, oh, good. This is my chance. This is my chance, right? Don't shy away from the challenge, guys. Because what happens a lot is just a lot of self-blame and self-criticism and like, oh, here we go again. I'm getting into this pattern again, etc. Okay? So let me know if you guys have questions about this. I would love to know how you're experiencing these 4 steps, whether they are something that is serving you, what kind of pushback you've gotten from it, because you can get pushback if somebody else is really connected to this. And at that point, you can tell them, oh, this is what I'm trying. You try it with me. Let's do it together. And you can work as a team to conquer codependency rather than having it break up the relationship, because both of you have the same intention in codependency. It's to stay together. It's to be connected. It's to have intimacy and companionship and collaboration. So collaborate on this. And remember that you're not responsible for other people's responses, just like they're not responsible for your responses. You got to act in your own best interest first so that you can be stable and fabulous. Okay? I have a workshop that's free tomorrow night, the 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will throw the link in the comments. I think it's in the description of this video. It's called Fresh Start. So if you feel like you've gotten stuck at all in where you are in your life, really, whether we're talking about health, wealth, career, relationships, come to this workshop, because what we're going to do is we're going to use some subconscious tools, because our subconscious doesn't necessarily respond super well to just us having conversation about things and you having an intellectual understanding and starting to apply things. Our subconscious makes up 95% of our thoughts and drives our behavior and drives how we show up in this world. So it's really critical to be shifting a lot of our subconscious. So I'm using some subconscious tools in the space of the Akashic Records. You guys will learn how to open your own records and navigate that space too. And then we're going to shift to what it is that we do want to call in, and getting more of these details and this understanding of, okay, what are these things that are going to help me love myself more? What are these things that are going to help me feel more significant and more worthy and more valuable? And even just starting by signing up for this free workshop tomorrow night, you're making a commitment to yourself, right? Which is a step toward moving away from this codependent pattern. Okay? Thanks for joining me today, guys. Please share this out to anyone you think it could help. Love you. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Bye.